Hi everybody, it's Dr. Rimka. Thank you for joining me on YouTube. I have a special guest with you guys who's going to share a personal story. So just briefly, I talk on here a lot about light, sunlight, light therapies, things, the big words, photobiomodulation. And I get a lot of questions asked me about this condition, that condition, this blah, blah, blah. Legally, I can't necessarily even give you personal stories. That actually breaks some laws for doctors to do that. So I'm going to start bringing more people on to tell their personal stories. And this is Kris Sweeting, and we've met in the virtual world over some months and had some conversations before. And I will say, because I was attracted to him from some of his Instagram, and he has a very unique page. It has a very unique look and style, and it's all about light. And then when I got a chance to talk with him about why he got into light, I thought it's a story worth sharing. So I asked him if he would talk about his diagnosis as a young child of an autoimmune disorder, that his mother had the amazing resilience and kind of warrior stance to basically say, I don't like what you just told me, Mr. Conventional Doctor, and I'm going to find a better solution. And it's really a remarkable story, what she was willing to do to help you with a physical condition that was actually causing a tremendous amount of emotional and psychological distress as well. So please introduce Kris. This is Kris Sweeting. He took a painful situation and turned it into a big passion, and we're going to talk about that at the end.
Yeah, thanks, Steph. So, yeah, my name's Kris, and I'm from Toronto, Canada. I'm 28 years old, turning 29 in about a month. When I was 3, I got the condition vitiligo. That's the same disease that Michael Jackson had. It's why he turned white. Well, he actually ended up bleaching his skin because it was so disfiguring. But that's the same condition that he had. That's why he walked around with an umbrella. So I got it when I was 3. My skin started to. I was getting like white patches. More frequently, they were kind of spreading. By the time I was 9, so I was in probably around like grade 4 or something like that. It was pretty extensive. I mean, I had it virtually all regions of my body, under my eyes, on my neck, elbows, like basically speckled throughout my entire body. And yeah, it definitely was causing some hardship. To the point where I'd go swimming and the other kids would be like, "Oh, did you spill acid on yourself?" Stuff like that. So that's what Steph means when she's talking about kind of the emotional toll, and that's pretty frequent with vitiligo. It's a really hard psychological disease to deal with. The depigmentation issue is really not dangerous. It's the psychological aspect that becomes quite dangerous for a lot of the patients.
And I will say, though, you do get a sensitivity to the sun.
Pardon?
And you do get, like you said, there is a sensitivity and a pain factor. I have a friend with vitiligo severely, and I mean, she just cannot go into the sun because she burns and hurts so much. And so I'm hoping she'll see this, and maybe we can teach her some other ways that she might get support.
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting with my, because I cannot. Sorry, is this cutting out?
It is a little bit.
I can't. Okay, so I couldn't repigment the skin on my feet or my hands, and it does not burn. Awesome. It will not burn. It's very strange. But we can talk about that in a little bit, exactly what a burn is, because, well, I guess I can address it now. A burn is the transference of blood to your skin. It's a process called thermal pooling. And the blood transfers into your skin to harvest the ultraviolet light into your blood. So it pools into your skin. And overnight, that process happens. That's why you wake up less red. And that's why your skin turns red, because it's, blood is red, and it's pooling into your skin to basically suck up the light. But yeah, I don't burn a lot. I think it's because of all the ultraviolet therapy that I've done.
Yeah.
It's kind of almost conditioned my skin not to burn. That's my presumption. So, just getting back to my story. By the time I was around 9 years old, it was very extensive. I went to multiple doctors. We were putting on, basically this cream. It's called tar cream. I was so young that I can't even remember the scientific term. We just called it tar cream. It was terrible. And then I would go out in the sun. At that point, I had some UVA tanning beds in my room. Um, we would use therapy. It's like basically PUA. Um, it wasn't very effective. The disease was spreading, and so the doctors that my mom took me to, including naturopaths, they told me to stay out of the sun. Use an umbrella, and basically, there's nothing that we could do. And and so my mom did a lot of research. She's a lab tech right now, or she was back then. Now she actually directs a blood lab. She's working on the coronavirus situation right now. But she took me. She found a German doctor. Her name's Karen Schellruder, and this was 20 years ago. She took me to see her. We flew over to Germany and we made a trip out of it. But basically, what happened was she prescribed me this cream called pseudocatalase, and she prescribed me narrow band ultraviolet B light therapy in combination with that cream. And what I was to do was take the cream, put it on my body, wait 10 minutes, and go in the light. I would do the cream 2 times a day, and then the phototherapy in the afternoon or the evening. Um, and it depends on your skin's tolerance to light. But generally speaking, you start out around a minute and you can increase it as your skin adapts. And by the time I was 14, I virtually repigmented all regions of my body. Like I said, I can't repigment my hands and feet. Not that you can really see it. It's at the tip of my fingers and a little bit on my thumb. And we're in Canada. We just came out of winter, so I'm not super tanned. Um, but yeah, I mean, this treatment has a 95% success rate. Before you spend all the money, you can actually get a blood test. I'm not sure exactly what the test is, but it will confirm if it's going to work for you or not. Obviously, they can't predict how fast it's going to work. For me, it was complete.
So do you know what that blood test is testing for? What like, is that an enzyme or is it genetic? Like, what are they looking to see if it'll work? Do you know that?
I don't know, but Steph, I'm going to get you that information.
Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't, because I want that they can differentiate, like you have a higher probability of this being successful before you invest the money. That's actually great because there's not a lot of, in conventional therapies, we don't do that very much. It's let's try it, this is our rate, and maybe it'll work. You might be not a non-responder. That's all we kind of have. So that's really encouraging to know. So let's just back it up. So you guys flew there. They tested you, said he has a high probability. Your mom bought equipment and had it shipped over to Canada, or what? Is it a whole bed?
Yeah, and it was actually, she bought it from the U.S. There at the time, the company was called National Biological Corporation. Narrowband UVB units. They're pretty expensive, but my mom wasn't even rich, so I gotta really thank her for that. I mean,
moms can do some magic. I mean, if your child is sick, Kris, I specialize in autism, so you can only imagine the type of warrior mothers. And the only way like this they get their children well is by saying, I don't really like that answer you just told me, that I have to live with this and there's nothing you can do. I'm going to research. And that's what they do. And it gets clumped in, get clumped in the alternative therapy, which I hate the phrase because that's already, giving it a little bit of throwing it under the bus. You know what I mean? So it's like, the question is, why is what did you say, 95% success rate for this therapy? Is that what you said?
5% success rate, which is crazy. Why nobody knows about this?
Yeah.
It's that.
Why would that be
And
alternative? Yeah.
and it's 20 years later and nobody knows about this. And and the way it works is it reduces the hydrogen peroxide, the cream, reduces the hydrogen peroxide. That's a free radical, as you know,
They're made
and
naturally. Yeah.
it wreaks havoc on the melanocytes. And people with vitiligo have too high concentrations of this free radical hydrogen peroxide in their skin. And so when you reduce that, it's it's beneficial. You have to do that before the phototherapy, and then the phototherapy, the narrowband UVB light activates the melanocytes. So basically, what you're doing, you're taking out the thing, you're depleting the agent that's destroying the melanocytes, and you're bringing them back to life with light. And you have to do it in combination, but it works amazing.
I love it. I love it. Because I'd never even heard of this until you and we all know in the light world, Germany is kind of like way ahead. Germany has been way ahead in everything for a very long time. There's a reason after the war we kind of stole all their scientists and brought them here, because there's like 1,500 scientists, after we said that left and built other countries' science, because they were way ahead of things. So do you know? And it's okay if you don't, but do you know how anybody today would find this therapy?
Yeah, that's another link that I'll probably
Okay, we can
link.
drop down in the description.
I'll give you Karen Shellruder's email. So anyone who wants, they can just email. Or the pseudocatalase cream generally is prescribed by her. There's knockoffs that are sold in the States, but I've never personally used it, so
Okay.
I don't.
We'll stick with, I like that's really cool. So here you are years later. So you've been doing this thing. You go in your little light thing, and you memorized your password even because you became so responsible. It's like, I'm gonna do my thing. Yeah.
Well, because yeah, I mean, at a certain point, I was like, I was like 7. I was like, didn't want my mom around me when I was like naked, right? So I would do my therapy by myself, and I'd like, this huge unit. I could barely open the doors to it. When I first started, like it was like a mission, and I'd go in and punch the password in, and set it for 1 minute and 7 seconds. That's what we started with, and I would do it, and eventually I started experimenting with it. Like after my vitiligo was stable, I got pretty curious. I was the kind of guy who's like, always in this kind of into science anyways. And so I was like, well, when I was like 13, I was like, knew every herb, how to, optimize my testosterone. And I was just into science. I was like, since a little kid. So I started researching plant medicine. And I just found connections between vitamin D status and androgen. And in fact, it's that light, the narrowband UVB light, that is shown to double vitamin D status in 1 minute exposure. So that that's highly. I mean, vitamin D is basically correlated with a decreased risk of almost every disease, right?
Yeah, it's a very powerful hormonal messenger, and the light bandwidth gives you over 1,000 metabolites that when your body makes it itself versus people taking a pill. I'm not opposed to using supplements as a therapy, but people need to understand I'm outside for a reason all the time. The light is, that in the UVB light, you guys, is coming from the sun when you're in a UV latitude at times. So where you are right now, Kris, up in Toronto, I don't think there might be some UV just happening in the sun, maybe in a month.
Yeah, I mean, there's always a little bit, but it's not sufficient.
Yeah.
The good thing about light is the colder the temperature, the faster you can absorb it. So effectively, that's why you need less light in the winter, but still, it's not sufficient. And the reason, in my opinion, I work with a biochemist. We have him on my team, and he believes that it's because we're all inflamed. And yeah, basically, when you're inflamed, vitamin D status goes down. So all these doctors are prescribing, vitamin D supplements and not addressing the underlying inflammation, and they're actually making it worse. I've of course, like, this is something that I'm extremely interested in: vitamin D and narrowband light, and ultraviolet light specifically. Like, taking supplements for vitamin D is, it's pretty extensively linked to calcification of tissues,
Yeah.
especially at really high doses, and and it is shown to specifically calcify the arterial, um, the arteries, and it's called vascular osteogenesis. It actually forms bone in the arteries, and that's what taking high dose vitamin D supplements
Yeah.
essentially.
It's an interesting thing because we're in Corona times, and it's one of the primary things everybody's recommending. And it's like, well, the reality is, and I, as a clinician, it's been a tough call to make people like, well, I know their dehydroxy level is 17, and
Yeah.
we're in a serious problem. Like, but my 74-year-old mother's, hers 60 something. I was like, doing your job. I'm awesome. Now at 74, maybe I want a little higher, but it's a huge difference. So it's like, it's a tough call over here to go, I need you to eat some, D-rich foods, but ultimately I want them always from the lights and sun and light. And, people have a hard time understanding the light cycle and knowing your body is capturing and collecting. I like when you talk about burn, the blood is pooling to capture that light, to take it in. And, my level in December in my blood is a reflection from what I did in the summer. So it's a tough call. And I am concerned with the amount of doctors that are just recommending high dose D right now, but I'm also nervous with people such severe low levels, and how are we going to get it up for them? So their immune system, they've already destroyed their immune system. So it's a tough call. But I let people know time and place. Short term, I'm okay with it because they don't, what are we going to do? But I do not like it long term ever. And I tell them I'm not a fan of it, but I'll use it, to like treat something like just like vitamin C. You don't need to take it every day, but I'll treat it with something. But to try to explain to people, you shouldn't be taking I'm not a fan of taking gobs of supplements daily. Never have been. I think they should give their body what it needs. So you kind of alluded to lights, and then you're into science. Your mom's into science. This is just in your blood at this point, I think, to be curious and inquisitive and create. So it's taking you all the way to turning it into, my birds are so loud, I love it, turning it into you hear it's like into a career. Like, you've actually said you started experimenting and messing around with things and going, what is this doing? And so you've turned it into building a company. Let's just tell them about what you really do and how I found you. It's like, oh, because you design and build things with light to help people heal and recover.
Yep. Yeah. So I have a company. It's called emr-tek. Basically, we make a multitude of products. They're designed by me. That my dad has been into wireless. My mom's directs a blood lab. To the point where I was like, she was coming in my room taking blood for me in the morning. Like, that's why I'm in science. I got like 3 different, ultraviolet beds. My mom's like, well, do you want to go to Gamma Dynacare? Just let me take it. And she'd go like run into labs. She wasn't allowed to do that. I got off topic there. So yeah, I mean, my dad's a 5G contractor, and unfortunately, I don't support the whole thing. I do think it's essential for American business to have that, but that's a whole other discussion.
Yeah.
So basically, yeah, we make anti-radiation cases effectively. A radiation barrier between the tissues of your body and the antennas of your phone. So I mean, it's not perfect, but it's the only scientifically valid way to reduce cell phone exposure. We're most known for our red light therapy devices, and that's because basically done certain upgrades that, for example, will minimize the flicker effect. Um, Probably a lot of you guys know this, but um, flicker will cause photosensitive seizures in epileptic people. That's why strobe lights are not a good idea for them to be around. But there's doctors that think that flicker causes central nervous system dysregulation. So dysregulation in the neurons in the CNS. And I'm pretty sure that this is the case because I'm not going to say which brand, but we've chiropractor in Germany actually um, noticed that there's with someone else's light and the flickers quite high. Um, it causes a 12-second nervous system response, and ours doesn't do that. So that's just the truth about that. And I think it's from just the overstimulation of like the nervous system or something. I'm not really sure, but there's something going on there, which lends credit to that. Yeah, I mean, other than that, I think our devices are just well built and they're helping a lot of people. So, with various things. So.
Yeah, Kris and I have had some extensive conversations about the difference in different devices. And light, you guys, it is really confusing. I did an actual interview yesterday with a light specialist as well on YouTube, and I brought them into my private course, and they could all ask them questions about all the different devices. And he specializes in selling class 4 lasers and percussive therapies to clinicians and stuff. So, and light beds. So it's an interesting thing. When you talked about it and I talked about it with him, it's a field that anybody could kind of change words or testing procedures and make things sound different than they really are. And so for the consumer, it's super confusing. And I try to do my best to help these people decide between what is this and are you getting ripped off and is this really a value? and in the market, it's changed kind of so fast because people are just now becoming aware of it. Like light is still, I think it's going to be a big part of the future, light and sound. I think those two forms of therapy people don't understand enough. And frequency-based things where basically we can change and move brain waves, we can change cellular function. And it's just not things people think about because they don't think of themselves as electrical. They don't think of themselves as light. They don't think of themselves as frequency. They think of themselves as like chemicals. And so they just think blood, hormones, neurotransmitters. And it's like, there's a lot, you use these other things to balance that actually. So I think I'm excited the field is getting bigger and more people like you are creating products. I think we'll do, and we just said, we'll talk another time about like diodes and, power density and what wavelengths and all this kind of science that you bring into it. But if you guys are interested in that, I will tell you his website is in the description, EMR -tek. I actually have it up here. We'll give a very, let you know that's where you can go. His website is very, very loaded with like science. And he's looking to change some of that. So the consumer, I said, we got to help with the journey. So a consumer knows, look, I just need to know which one to get for my kid. I just need to know which one to get for this. Which one's going to make me pretty? Which one's going to make my pain go away? How do I use it? You know what I mean? Kind of a thing. And so interesting stuff. I'm excited. I don't own a LED panel, you guys. I never bought one. My very first one is coming from Kris. Is it ready to ship yet? Are they ready? Because
it's ready. I'm sending you a Firewave.
Yeah, Firewave.
It's, my favorite way to use that lamp is on my head. And our lights, like they use COD chips. It's kind of better technology than the just standard diode spec everywhere. Yeah. And it's super high power, and so you kind of need that to get past the skull of the brain, unless you're using a laser. And we're not going to get all technical.
Yeah, let's not do that right now. We can do other things, but they can reach out to you, message you. He's on Instagram. Go to the website, you know, hey, I'm looking to buy some stuff. Dr. Rimka, you know, I saw YouTube, whatever, and he'll help you. They'll help you with the journey. But I just kind of want to end with that as a message to parents out there or anybody struggling with vitiligo specifically. There is a powerful available healing tool that your physician probably hasn't told you about. And we're going to drop that physician's info in there. You'll send it to me and I'll put it in the description. And there's the power of light. You know, I just think people need to know about it, learn about it, and become aware of it. You can check out Kris's products. And you know, God bless moms who are not listening to the status quo of conventional therapies, because they're very limited and they're pretty much always drug-based alone, because that's where the money is. If you want to wrap up something on that, feel free.
Yeah, no, you know, I get a lot of moms, and you know, they're pretty inspired about the story, and it's moms with kids. So, yeah. Sure.
Oh, awesome. Well, tell your mom thank you, because she really, by changing your life that way, and you know, she changed a lot of other people's lives. Because obviously, I love when people can hear stories where someone took a painful situation and turned it into strong purpose. You know, so moms, if your kids are going through stuff, understand that that's part of their journey, some of their pain or discomfort, and it might be the thing that's the catalyst for them you know, creating something all of their own and changing lives, just like Kris is doing. So as a mother of a young child, it's always good to have stories of people like you, like, oh, right, you can't, moms always want to stop pain.
I appreciate you having me on this show and interviewing me and giving me the opportunities.
Awesome, Kris. Thank you so much. See you guys.
Okay. Chat later. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. So we definitely had internet stuff, but it's okay. There was like a freeze sometimes and a delay sometimes. Oh, he left.